Hi, in this video I will give you my best tips for you to have a successful winter run. My first tip is that you should wear a shoe with a good grip. If it's not too icy outside, I usually run with my ordinary running shoes or a pair of trail shoes. With a trail shoe I don't have to slip back at every step, and the tear on the heel tendon is less. When it's a slippery ground with very compact snow, I also have a pair of ice cleats that I can put on my ordinary shoes. And I also have a pair of running shoes with metal studs, but they come to use maybe only 5 to 10 times a year, and that's when it's really like an ice rink outside. For me, the grip is not only needed because I'm afraid of falling, but to keep myself injury-free, since I don't have to slip back at every step, as the icy ground tears on my heel tendons and my calves. My second tip is that you can divide the run into 2 runs. And that is because we runners were differently sensitive to cold. For me, for example, my lungs or breathing are rarely a problem on these cold winter days, while others feel it's very difficult to breathe in the cold and dry air. What you can do then is to split your run into 2 runs, so it will become less stressful for your lungs. Since it also gets darker earlier in the winter, it can be more convenient to have at least 1 run in the middle of the day when it's brighter and it's also milder outside. And then you can run the rest in the evening. My third tip is that you should dress for success. Maybe you have heard about the 5-minute rule, that you should be cold for 5 minutes until you get the heat up. But you don't know that until you've been out running for 5 minutes, and then it can be too late. If you're an unexperienced winter runner, my advice is instead to dress as if you are going out for a walk when it's 10 degrees warmer. It works for me, but we're differently sensitive to cold, so use your own scale. The first layer of clothing can consist of a technical fabric or wool. And if it's really cold, you can also have a pair of long socks under your tights. As a second layer, you can wear a sweater with fleece lining. It's not often you need more than 2 layers. But when it's really cold outside, you may also need a third layer, like a windbreaker, that protects you against wind. I like to wear a vest, because it's often the torso that needs the extra heat. But if it's really cold, like down to 10 to minus 15 degrees Celsius, I also have a lined windbreaker. And on my legs I have lined winter tights, which on the coldest of days are reinforced with a pair of leg warmers. And if you like getting tips like this, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, so you don't miss any of my weekly uploads. My next tip is that you should try to run in daylight if it's possible. It feels like in November and forward we step into some kind of dormancy until it brightens up again in the spring. We therefore need some daylight, and if we are lucky we can get a glimpse of the sun in the middle of the day. Many people have jobs that doesn't allow them to get out running in the middle of the day. But if you can, only maybe just for 10 minutes, then get out and run. In addition to the chance of some daylight, the weather is milder. And if you don't have time for more than a short run, you can do the rest of the session late that day. And the advantage is that you already have done a part of your training that day. So the evening session will be shorter when it's colder and dark outside. As I always suggest, there are so many benefits of running a certain time than a certain number of miles. Running on snowy grounds takes longer time than to running on solid asphalt. When it comes to long runs in the winter, I usually set a time goal rather than a distance goal. Otherwise, the run can be far longer than intended. This is also important to keep in mind if you're following a training program, and it lists everything in kilometers or miles instead of time. Try then to recalculate the number of miles into minutes instead. In the winter, the speed will slow down, but the effort will be the same. This next tip is very important, and that is about the insidious wind. When it's windy outside in the winter, the cold effect is greater. For example, if it's minus 10 degrees Celsius and the wind is 4 meters per second, that will correspond to minus 17 if there would have been no wind. That is called the wind chill factor, and it gives you a buzz about the effect of the wind on bare skin. If you start your run in tailwind, it's important to be aware that it will be much colder on the way back. If you can, it's better to choose to run in headwind on cold, windy days, so that you can return home in tailwind as it gets cold. In this table, you can see the effect of wind combined with temperature and what the wind chill factor will be. And I will share a link in the description where you can fill in the wind and the temperature yourself to see the wind chill factor. Remember to adjust your cadence. If I want to run quality workouts in the winter, it's plowed roads or treadmill that will apply, but distance and long runs I do on snow in different forms. When it's snowy outside, you have to shorten your stride, so not to slip back at every step, which is very stressful for your calves and your tendons. Why not take the opportunity in the winter to train your cadence? And then when the spring comes, you hopefully will maintain the same cadence but lengthen your step, which will make you a faster runner. So I hope you had a really nice run in this winter landscape. But when you come home, what should you think of? In addition to the obvious to take off your sweaty clothes fast as possible and jump into a hot shower or a bath, I recommend you to drink something hot. You have inhaled cold air, and to drink something hot really does the trick to get the heat up in your body again. Why don't you drink a broth or maybe a miso soup, and you will also in the same time refueling your sodium stores whilst also warming you up. I'm sure there's a lot more tips to have a successful winter run. So why don't you give me your best tips for a successful winter run in the comments below. Have a nice run. See you soon. Bye.